Hey, what's up? So the other day, I was talking to my friend, and he was telling me how him and his girlfriend had just broken up, and they were dating for like 4 years. And the gist of it was basically he lives here in California, she lives in Canada. The goal was for her to move down so they could live together, but she didn't want to move down until he bought a house for them to live in. And then she also couldn't work when she moved down here, right? So he would have to buy a house and support her, which I think he was fine with, but it's just expensive to do in California, and her expectations were a little bit far from reality, and I don't know what happened, and they just broke up, right? And when I was talking to him, I was like, "Yo, does she understand how money works?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm not really sure." And that kind of led me to think about one of my biggest pet peeves is when people don't really understand how money works. Right? I'm not saying she doesn't. I don't know her, but I feel like what happens a lot. I meet people a lot where I see things on the internet where I'm just like, these people don't really understand how much money works. Right? Either they think people that have a lot of money can spend a lot of money, or they just don't know how much, like they don't know how much tax is, or they just don't know what the value of things are, or whatever, or like they're really spoiled and their parents pay for a lot of things, so they don't really understand how hard it is to save money. So there's a lot of examples, but I think part of growing up is really understanding the value of a dollar and knowing how to spend it accordingly, right? And I think the worst thing you can do to someone is you could spoil them, right? Like let's say you spoil your kids and they grow up not understanding the gap between reality and expectation, and at some point they're going to hit that wall, and it's going to be a really poor experience, right? Or you're just spoiling their entire lives. A lot of people are like 50 years old, they still get money from their parents, right? To support their lifestyle that they can't actually support on their own. So it's kind of sad. So basically, my point is, don't become like one of these spoiled people. Really understand how money works at your age, because it's going to be really important. So another thing I want to talk about is American society really pressures you to spend money. Our economy is built on debt, right? And it's easy to like just go around, you look at TV, you look at your friends or whatever. People are making spending all this money. You have assumptions, but what I'm trying to tell you is, hey, don't give into the culture. People that really have money, wealthy people, they don't waste money, right? And you see people spending money, that actually means they have less money than they actually had before they spent it, right? So wealthy people will try to get a return on their money. Rich people spend money, and you don't actually know what's going on behind the scenes. So just make sure you don't assume anything. And my advice is just don't give into the culture of spending money. And what's also really important is you have to play defense. And when I say defense, I mean you have to not let money go out. Defend your money staying in, right? And you know what's really interesting is I always thought like losing weight was like 50% working out, 50% eating right, right? But I'm actually understanding now it's like 95% eating right and like 5% working out. And the reason is because if you eat an exorbitant amount of calories, you can never burn it at the gym, right? If I eat 45, you know, donuts every day and I eat all this, drink all this soda or whatever, I can never work that off, right? So really, if I just control my eating, then I could lose weight. And I think the same thing happens with money too. It's like you can make as much money as you want, but if you don't control your spending, like you'll always be broke. And there's examples of this where people don't really know how to manage money. They come into a lot of money, like they win the lottery, or maybe they're athletes or whatever, or they're celebrities. And like over the course of 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 years, they end up going broke, right? And it's because they just didn't manage their spending. So my point is you really need defense. All right. So what I would like to do now is I want to give you a realistic snapshot of how much people make in America and how much people spend, and then we can kind of talk about it. And I just want you to have an understanding of what this is, because sometimes you're like, oh, if I could get this much money, I'll be rich, and I can do this, I can do that. I just want to set some expectations here. Okay, so here I have the percentile breakout of incomes in America. This first column here is individual incomes. Second column here is going to be household incomes, right? So for example, if you're making more than 70% of people in America and you're a single person, you're making 70K, you're making more than 70% of people in America in your household, you're making 118K. So at 90 percentile, you're making 135K and then 216K. So the top 95 percentile of Americans households is making 295K, right? And is that a lot of money? Is that not a lot of money? Because it depends. It's all relative, but these are the numbers, right? So my point is here is people aren't making millions of dollars. Some people are, but most people are not. All right. And if you factor in tax, which is really important, you can kind of see how much money people are actually taking home. So here I did standard deductible. I did federal income tax, FICA, state income tax for California because I'm in California. I took the average percentile income, and then I took out I divided by 12 to get the monthly tax. Okay, monthly fee. So this is how much money you're actually taking home. If a single person making 187K a year, they're taking home 10.4K a month. Which is that a lot? Is that not a lot? It's up to you to decide, but this is what it is. Okay, these are the numbers. So if you're taking home 300K as a household income, you're only taking home 15K a month. All right, 216. So this is what the numbers actually are. All right. And you can pause here to take a look at it. And then here, I'm going to go and show you the actual tax breakouts. So this is how much you're paying in tax. So if you're in the 95th percentile earner, you're paying 32% in tax, including state and federal and FICA. This also includes your standard deductible. It's already deducted, I believe. So these are going to be like kind of estimates. Everyone's tax is a little bit different, but this is more or less going to be correct. So this is an individual rate. This is household income rate, household tax rate. So just go ahead and pause it here if you want to take a look at it. And then now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and look at average housing costs. Okay, so I did California first. So these are average housing costs in California between 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom. So you can see San Francisco is like $3,400 for a 1 bedroom, which is pretty expensive. 2 bedrooms, $4,500 is pretty expensive. But it's not that much cheaper anywhere else either, right? I live in Irvine, $3,700. It's pretty expensive. $4,400 is pretty expensive. I grew up in Fremont, $3,000, $3,800. So in California, it's pretty expensive, but across the country, it's a little bit cheaper at other places, but it's pretty expensive elsewhere as well. So $4,500 to $6,200 in New York City. Looks like Houston and Phoenix are pretty decent. But yeah, this is how much it costs to live in America. All right. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a look at how much it costs to buy a house. So this is for renting, right? For buying a house it's a little bit different because you want to calculate your mortgage. But what a lot of people don't remember as well is you want to calculate property tax and also your insurance. And then there's going to be like other fees like HOA fees like that. So I just put $100 for HOA fees, but obviously that's going to be a lot higher if you have them. Sometimes you don't have them, so I just kind of average to 100. But here I took the house price. I imagine you took 20% down at a 7% interest rate, which is what we're paying right now, and what the current rate is right now, roughly. And this is how much your fees are going to be, right? So for a $750,000 house, you're paying $4,000 on your loan, plus all the other stuff. You're paying $5,000 a month. All right. For a $1.5 million house, you're paying $10,000 a month. 1.5 million, and that sounds like a lot, but in like where I like California is like that's like not even that nice of a house. Okay, you're paying $10,000 a month. Okay, this is how expensive it is to live in California. All right, so let's just take some very generic example of bills, right? So let's say you got health insurance, you got your internet, you got your car insurance, you got phone bill, you got just general electricity, water, utilities, and you got a car payment, right? And this may or may not be more or less than what you're paying. I'm just kind of taking some estimates. I try to go as average as possible. Car payment might be a little bit less. Maybe internet, I don't know, health insurance more, I don't know. But let's say $700 in terms of bills, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and just say, let's say you're a 90% top earner, okay? So that means 9 out of 10 people, or let's say 8 out of 10 people, not including yourself, are making less money than you, okay? So you're top 10% in America. If you're an individual household, this is how much you're making, right? Imagine I just took a rent. Let's say rent is $2,500, which is a little bit less than what we were seeing earlier. I imagine you're living in a 2-bedroom and you're splitting it, right? For household, I did about $4,500, and then I took bills, $700 we got from earlier, bills, and I multiplied that by 1.5 for household. Because you can probably repeat some of this for each person, but some things will probably cost extra. So just conservatively, let's multiply 1.5. So after your take-home pay, you subtract rent and bills, you have this much left. $4,000 for individual, household is $6,300. Okay, and then I did some just very basic like assumptions. Okay, groceries, eating out, gas, subscriptions, going out. Right. So eating out $500 a month is not. It's all relative, but that's like what? That's like $15 a day, just $18 a day. So that's like lunch, right? For every day if you eat out. And then groceries, maybe you cook at home or whatever. But if you go out to like one nice meal, it's like $80. It's like, dude, that's already like a fifth of your budget, right? And then I have gas and then subscriptions. That'd be like Netflix or whatever, Amazon, whatever. And then going out, let's say you go out, you buy a round of drinks, like $100 already, right? So yeah. So after that adds up to $1,700. So you subtract that from the total, you'd be left with almost $3,000 of individual, and then $4,300 as a household. All right. And my question to you is that a lot of money? Right. It could be a lot of money. It could not be. That's not the point. I think it's all relative. But my point here is like I'm not even including a lot of random things to pay for. Right. What if you have to unexpected expense? What if you have to your car you have to buy new tires? It's like $800 right there. Right. That's like a third of your budget. That's a third of what's left. Or you go to doctors. You don't have vacations. If you have kids, like I didn't even include that. Right. Any sort of event you go to a wedding. I give them a wedding gift. Right. Your birthday. Maybe it's your birthday. You gotta buy things. Right. You're not even saving for retirement. So this list actually goes on a lot. So this number where we have left is not even, it's not even an accurate number because we're not including a lot of the real fees stuff that you have to pay just day-to-day life, right? Okay, so my point is this. If you're a top 90 percentile, let's imagine you're saving all that money. You don't have any of these fees, right? You're really good at saving. You're saving about 30 to 50K a month, right? So you're a top 90 percentile earner. That means you're not really living that lavishly at all, and you're only saving 30 to 50K a month. And when I say only, I don't mean like it's not a lot of money. It is a lot of money. But the question is like, is this person able to buy a $60,000 car, right? Yeah, if they want to spend their entire savings of 1 year or 2 years, they can buy a car, right? Can they buy an amazing house? I don't know. Amazing house will cost, probably depending on where you live. But let's imagine these people live in California or they live in a nicer area. That's why they're making 9 percentile. Amazing house will cost like $2.5 million. If they can save 50K a year, just to save the down payment would take 5 years, and depending on the interest rate, their fee would be over 10 grand, right? So can you even afford it? I don't even know. I don't think so. Can they go on some crazy trips? I mean, I'll leave you to decide, right? They have 30 to 50K of savings, but they haven't paid for any of this other stuff, right? So do you want to spend all your money on this trip? Maybe. Can they send their kids to private school? I don't know. Probably not. Can you get bottle service at a club? Can you drop 10 grand or 20 grand at a club like people do on Instagram? It depends how you want to spend your money. Once again, I'm not saying you can't do it. You can do it, but it's like, where is the rest of your money going? Okay, so these are more hypothetical questions for you to answer. All right. So what is my point? My point is, even people that are the top earners are not living lavishly. Okay. So if you're not a top earner, then like it's cool if you're not living lavishly because nobody is, right? The stuff that you see online where people are just dropping like $100,000 doing whatever is like probably the top 1% of the 1%. All right. I'm not saying those people don't exist. Those people definitely exist, but it's not the average person, right? It's either that or it's fake, right? Or they're not saving correctly. And in this entire thing, I haven't even talked about saving yet, right? So my point here is like, keep your expectations realistic and don't get influenced by what you see because it's not that realistic, right? And I guess like if you're taking anything away from this video, I want you to understand the value of money as early as possible and don't get influenced by other people. Okay, so just other general advice that is pretty basic is like, never, ever, 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 never, ever take any sort of credit card debt. All right, and when I say take credit card debt is when you don't pay your credit card bill off at the end of the month, right? You never ever hold a balance. Never, never, never. People say, "Oh, it's good debt, bad debt." Okay, yeah, I understand the difference, right? A mortgage could be good debt because the rate of the house will go up higher than the interest rate, right? That's possible, right? Borrowing money to invest in your business may or may not be good or bad debt, right? But credit card is never a good debt. Never is never a good debt. So you never buy anything you can't afford. So if you don't have the money in the bank to buy it, then you don't buy it, right? If it's not in the bank, you don't buy it. The credit card is just where you get points, get security, and to game the system basically. But you have to have the money in the bank in order to buy it, right? You never hold a balance to cover that, and then a lot of these cards they get you with 0% APR fee. That doesn't mean free. That means you don't have to pay interest on it, right? But that doesn't mean free. You have to pay for it at some point. If you can't pay for it now, you're not going to be able to pay for it later. So just never take credit card debt. All right. And just doing this thing will keep you ahead of most people. And although it might not seem like it, I'm not trying to tell you that you can't ball out. I'm just trying to get you to understand what it takes in order to ball out, right? And my point here is that even if you're a top 90 percentile earner, you're not really going to get rich from your salary, right? You can't get rich trading time for money. You just can't. It's not going to work. And I kind of showed it to you just now, right? So you need to find leverage. Either your money needs to make money or you need to be building something that will make money in the future, right? And you just cannot trade time linearly for money because you're never going to get rich that way because you're limited on time. So it's like, for example, right? I make less money now than I did 10 years ago. And that's because I work for a company that I co-founded, right? And we pay myself a salary less than a lot of our employees. And we pay, if we have more money in the company, we would probably just hire more employees to grow revenue faster, right? And where I'm going to make money is when we sell the company, because the company will get valued at some multiple of revenue. Every dollar the company makes will be worth, some multiple higher than that in the future. And then when we sell it, that's when we make all our money. And I'll be making more per hour than I ever made probably. But right now I'm not doing it because I'm building in the leverage. I'm leveraging my time to build something that will not linearly be, time for money. Does that make sense? And then when I say time is your friend and start now, I mean, hey, if you're 20, start saving money now. Every dollar you save and invest right now is going to be worth some multiple of that in the future. So you want to get rich, but don't do it by trading time for money. And just real quick, I think you want to look at money as a tool. A lot of people think money, will make them happy. And I don't think that's true. Money will make your life a lot easier in a lot of ways, but it's not going to make you happy for long term. But at the same time, it's not the opposite either. You're not going to be unhappy. People that have money aren't unhappy, right? It's just a tool for you to get what you want. And it's not going to make you happy. It's not going to make you unhappy, but it will make your life a lot easier. So just don't have too high expectations, too low expectations of money. And what I think money is a tool for, personally, I think it's a tool to have freedom, right? And I think the first step you should do is you should have, let's call it 6 to 24 months of expenses covered. So that means that if you got fired from a job today, you have enough money in the bank where you can just pay your expenses for 6 months. And how you do that is first you got to figure out how much money you spend every month, make sure that's consistent every month. So you figure out how much you need, and then you start saving, right? You start investing, you start saving, right? And when you're younger, it seems impossible because how hard is it to save money? It's really hard. Obviously, look at this guy. We went back to this guy, right? This guy makes $135K a year. He saves $8,000 a month. He probably spends around, let's call it, $5,000, $6,000. He saves $3,000 a month, right? It's gonna take him, 2 months for 1 month. It's gonna take him a whole year of really, really good saving to get 6 months, right? And that's a top 9 percentile. So it's really hard. But as you go and your money starts stacking up and you start including interest or you start including investments, it actually becomes a lot easier. And the reason you want to do this is because the feeling of having the freedom where you can say, oh, I can get fired and have 2 years of expenses covered, it just feels really good because now you're not a slave to anything. Nothing has power over you. The job doesn't have power over you. You can do what you want. You have choices, right? And then you have the freedom to make more choices that could leverage over time. You make bigger investments to make more money. So it's a really good place to start. You probably don't need 24 months, all in cash. Maybe not even 12 months, but if you've been through any sort of crashes, you want to know sometimes having cash is safe, and having that mental security mentally is nice as well. So yeah. In summary, you can do it. I think all you need to do is you got to start now. You have to have a plan. You have to be realistic about your expenses. You track every month, right? Don't let anyone influence you. And then I know in this video I talked a lot about, hey, you got to save. And that's true, but you also need to find a balance where you can last forever, right? So you don't want to be, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So find a balance where you're comfortable with and you're able to, just stretch a little bit to save, but don't overdo it because you're going to burn out at some point. And then finally, the most important thing is figure out how to find leverage, whether that's investing every day or that's or every month, or that's researching different opportunities, or maybe making one really big investment after you do a lot of research. Those are all things you can do, but yeah, hope this video helps. And I honestly just want you to be realistic about money, and hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.